Welcome back, everyone. Yes, it's another episode of the Steel Target Paint Podcast. As always, I'm Jeff Jones, and I'm here with my co-host,
Steve Foster. How you doing this morning, Jeff?
I'm doing great, Steve. You know, it's early morning. Looking forward to talking to you. We've got some interesting things to talk about today. And, you know, one of them is kind of an interview of you. Because you got to shoot the World Rimfire Championships.
Yeah, it's been 2 years
2 weeks
since
ago.
they had. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. It's been 2 years since they had their World Rimfire match. It was up at the Orsa Club, up right outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. Yeah, it was a good time.
Well, that's excellent. You know, I was, of course, living vicariously through following the scores online, and you know, I think. I don't want to say to no one's surprise, because quite frankly, I think that in that top realm of shooters, it's still anybody's game. But Grant Kunkel did come out with the grand champion and a win in Rimfire Rifle Open. And, you know, I have now shot a Rimfire match and had a great time doing it. And it's a very different setup than, say, Steel Challenge. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Whole different skill set.
I like the fact that to win, you have to be proficient in both the rifle and the pistol.
Absolutely.
It just adds another element. And the concept, for those that have never shot a rimfire match, the stages are not consistent on purpose. Okay. They're more like a field course in USPSA, where you don't know what you're going to get until you get to the match.
Right.
So you may have targets that have elevation changes. Of course, there could be wide targets. So you've got heavy transitions. You could be bouncing back and forth across the bay. We shot one in the match that we had where you shot a circle of plates, and then the stop plate was in the middle. So you really don't know what you're going to get until you get there. So as you point out, the concept of muscle memory, or, you know, knowing how fast you can do a certain transition between two plates, is kind of out of the window.
100% agree. and you know, Jeff, what my problem is I shoot 5 plates and I think I'm done, and there's at least 1 or 2 more left.
So that's funny, because I had just the opposite problem, where very first match, very first stage, shooting pistol, and it was pretty much a straight across setup, and then back to the middle for the stop plate. And I barneyed. Or did I barney? No, I did not barney. I just put my mag in, and I'm like, 7 shots, I got 10, no problem, until I put 10 shots out and still hadn't hit all the plates. and looked at the RO and went, I'm not even going to bother to reload, because I'm just going to throw this one away. And then was very diligent in my shooting on the next strings.
Yeah, Jeff, that's never happened to me. Today, because I'm not shooting, but yeah, no, I ran one dry.
So the match was at Orsa. I've never shot at that range. How's that range as far as, you know, just a range to shoot at?
I think overall it's a nice facility. I think they're continuing to put improvements in it. I think they're working on some additional, you know, long-term bathrooms and that kind of thing. But I think the best part about Orsa, and I've wanted to shoot there for years, and for whatever reason, never made the trip up there. And I think it's because it's the first major match that they've had that's kind of, you know, in what I shoot. But I was looking forward to the match, because once I heard that our friend John Suter was the match, I think he was the range matcher, range master. I don't think he was the match director, but he's the one that put together all the stages, and that's the home of Eric Matson's group, the Team Norseman folks.
Yep.
That's just a great group of people. I think probably half of the RO staff were Team Norseman guys and gals, which was really really cool. But John did a fantastic job. It's always different when you have a high level shooter like John put together a match, because I'm telling you what, it's outside of the great people. We started a little bit late each day, not a big deal, but it was a 12 stage match, and there's a lot of scuttlebutt online about World Rimfire match being 12 stages. I got news for you, folks. If you're complaining about that, the people that are on top after 12 stages are the same people that are going to be on the top after 20 stages. And
well, that was a good, that was going to be my question. Was the scuttlebutt that they felt that there was too many stages or not enough?
So the scuttlebutt was that the price went up. I think back when NSSF had it, I think they only charged $75 for a 2-gun match. And I'm just based on my history, which goes back to 2016. So in 2016 and 2017, the match was held up at Cavern Cove in Alabama. And I think we ran 16 stages, maybe 18 stages, somewhere in there. But it was $75 because I think NSSF subsidized a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the match entry fee went up to, I think, $125.
Okay.
A lot of people that shoot USPSA, $125 for a major match isn't that big of a deal. But it's so there was that was the concern that I heard from quite a few people. That was a lot of money, and $125 to shoot 2 guns, and then across 12 different stages. I think it was pretty reasonable. But the best part about it, Jeff, sometimes when we travel to these matches, you're like shooting all day, then you try to squeeze in dinner at night with family, friends, so on and so forth, and then you're tired as all get up, and then you have to get back up in the morning. So the cool part is we ended up shooting 8 stages on Saturday and then 4 stages on Sunday, and we left the range. I think my group was the last group to finish, and I think we got done maybe about, let's say, 3 o'clock on Saturday. So it gave us plenty of time to do some sightseeing and all that kind of stuff, and we weren't rushed, unlike 2 years ago when we shot it in Arkansas. The squad that I was on, it must be me, Jeff, because we were the last squad to finish there as well. We were literally shooting in the dark. I mean, it was.
Yeah, that happens.
That
happens.
Yeah, it was a pretty unfortunate set of circumstances, but from the decent facility, great place to get to, great places to stay there. And the match ran, I think, exceptionally smooth.
Good. Well, I consider John a good friend, and Eric did the rewards for the West Florida Steel Challenge Championships 2 years ago, and which were laser engraved mugs and Yeti cups, and it was well received, and I love those guys. But I really want to just point out, I think it was 2 years ago, and it might be 3 years ago, that I remember a lot of online chatter about the match configuration, the stage configuration. I think there was a prone stage. There might have been a one-handed stage. I don't remember the particulars, but there was a lot of just discussion about, was this really in the spirit of what the Rimfire Challenge was supposed to be? So at this year's match, do you think John really kind of nailed it?
Yeah, I think he did. I think, the match that you're talking about, and that was the best decision I ever made, was not to shoot that match in 2018. Because I just had a weird feeling about it, and unfortunately, that was a pretty dark time in Rimfire Challenge as far as I'm concerned. But no, John did a really good job. Most of the pistol stages were somewhat faster, which is very typical with what you see with a lot of Rimfire Challenge. some were blazing fast and some were still pretty technical, but relatively quick. The
Mm-hmm.
rifle stages overall were at further distances, but a little bit bigger plates, so they weren't as small and as far out as I think even what we saw in Arkansas. But yeah, I think the rifle stages overall, I don't recall one that was super fast. And I can get into more of that here in just a minute. But the rifle stages were more technical. There was a couple of stages where you're shooting 10-inch plates. I'm sorry, 8-inch plates, probably at 20 yards. So you had to stop and put the little red thing on the target to squeeze the trigger. So yeah, but it was good. I mean,
Now, was the
I think
setup
that
were the
go
base
ahead.
setups like shoot a pistol, shoot a rifle, shoot a pistol, shoot a rifle? So was it an every other thing, or could you, like, on day 2, could you have finished all of one of gun and were just shooting 4 more stages in the other gun?
No, I apologize. I can't recall off the top of my head because I don't have the stages. They don't publish the stages,
Right.
unlike some major USPSA matches where they publish them ahead of time. But no, you had to bring. So if you're shooting 2 different divisions, both open and limited, those were the only 2 divisions shot that I'm aware of this past or 2 weeks ago. You had to bring all of your gear for all of your guns with you. I do recall switching from rifle to pistol, 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 rifle, rifle, pistol, that type of thing. Whereas the match in Cavern Cove, I'm not necessarily saying it's an overly good or bad thing. It was just different. When we shot at a Cavern Cove, you would shoot, let's say there was 16 stages, you would shoot all 8 stages of pistol and rotate through all the pistol stages. And then your group would then go to the rifle stages. There was a little scuttlebutt. It wasn't a big deal, but some people had that same comment of, hey, I wish we would have shot all of one and then we didn't have to carry all of our crap from stage to stage. But I of all the things that could go well or not so well, that probably just wasn't a big one. But it's something that I would probably offer as feedback to make an enhancement going forward.
Well, again, I love this community. I love meeting people, but we are definitely a community of opinions.
Yes, we are.
And my recommendation is always, if you don't like way something is being done, get involved and change it.
Yeah. Yep.
If you want to run, or if you want to be able to shoot a rimfire match the way you think it should be shot, become a match director and set one up and run one. And that doesn't mean that you're not allowed to make your opinion be heard, but the complaining isn't fair, because if you're not involved, then you don't have as much right. And I paid for this match. Well, yeah, you did. And but you also knew that in Rimfire Challenge, you don't get to see the stages until you get there. You don't know what the setup is. And I would expect, like, if you were to say to me, it's an every other, that wouldn't have surprised me one bit. Again, that would be something I would expect, where you would be able to go, okay, we're really going to test your skills. You're going to switch between each gun, because each gun definitely takes different skills to be able to shoot. So, that's just my opinion. That's what I did. I wanted to be able to have a match that people could come and enjoy and have a good time and know that the stages were going to be right. And that's why we started the West Florida match.
Yeah, exactly right.
To provide that. So, well, that's really cool. How did you shoot? I mean, it's tough, because that's the one thing about Rimfire Challenge is that, you come off the stage and you go, well, how'd I do? And it's like, well, you looked good. You didn't miss, but you don't have anything to gauge it against, because it is a random set of plates. So how'd you do?
Well, overall, I shot decent. I started off pretty conservative, which was part of my strategy. And in the last, I don't know, 16, 17, and probably 18, my goal is always to finish in the top 10, both in open and limited. And I'm probably right around there. The previous three world matches that I've shot, but I haven't shot. I don't know what's happened, but when I started shooting in 2016, competitively, I would shoot probably 5 major Rimfire Challenge style matches a year, and now they've pretty much all gone away in the Southeast for whatever reason. So I think that's probably an opportunity to get to shoot more of it, and to get clubs up and going. So I'm not sure what direction Rimfire Challenge is headed, but I think that's a pretty big opportunity in how they support that. So I started off pretty conservative, but because I hadn't shot it much, did a little practicing prior to that. But on the second or third stage, had a broken firing pin. So here's what happened. So I think I checked the weather on Wednesday, and it was supposed to be like 75 degrees on Saturday and like 80 degrees on Sunday. And I never checked the weather again, Jeff, and that was a cool error, because on Friday night we got there and I think it was like 48 degrees. I was like,
Ooh.
man, what's it going to be like in the morning? I think when we started shooting, it was like 42 degrees. Maybe it was less than that. I don't know. But anyway, my daughter and I had to do a little shopping the night before. So yeah, so anyway, I typically don't like to be in that situation, but in Atlanta it was 72 and sunny, and it's less than 4 hours away. I didn't think it was going to be that cold. So people's guns were having issues and so on and so forth running because it was so cold. Probably the first major match that people had to test their equipment in the cold. So I got on our first rifle stage. I'm shooting my rimfire rifle open gun, and I had like 2 malfunctions, and I was like, what the heck is going on? Because I just shot probably 1,000 rounds through that gun Saturday and Sunday prior without an issue. And I was like, it must be the cold. Maybe it just needs to get warmed up, and it's warmed up. And then I had like 3-4 malfunctions. I'm like, what the heck? And then I looked at it, this and that, and it looked fine. I was like, okay, maybe this thing is finally warmed up. Another 4 malfunctions. I'm like, okay, something's going on. And then string 4 at this point in time, I probably should have stopped and grabbed my backup gun, which was pretty decent cruise away in my truck. But, let's just say I'm a little bit stubborn. Shot again, and then I went to every round was, some sort of issue. Come to find out that I toasted a firing pin. It's actually the second firing pin that I've ever broke in my entire shooting career, which, why in both of the firing pins that I broke, one was in my CWA pistol, which happened at the World Speed Shoot last year, and and this one just happened to be another major match.
You and world shoots and firing pins.
I know, right? What's the deal? And so at that point in time, I took a 25 on a rifle stage that probably should have been a 10 or 12, and at that point, I knew my hopes of being in the top 10 just kind of went out the window.
Yeah.
So we started, and this is I don't mean this to be overly critical, but I think it's a reality. And some people made some comments, and I didn't, get too much into it online. But what happened on that first day? So we shot 8 stages. My group started on Bay 5, and we've talked about this before. If you're laying out like a home range or something like that, as far as I can remember, the sun always rises in the east and sets in the west. So don't set your bay up east to west. And the first 8 bays, so bays 1 through 8 or 9, were facing east to west. They had canopies, but so it wasn't, the sun was not a factor necessarily on day 1, because you could certainly see the sun, but it was very, very overcast until probably 11 o'clock in the morning. And so the sun was high enough, so it didn't play as big of a role.
Sure.
But I'm telling you what, Jeff, on day number 2, I felt bad for anybody in our squad and the couple squads around us, because we were shooting in the direct sunlight. And, you know, there was a conversation that was had, but you're shooting in the direct sunlight. There were targets out at 20 yards, 10-inch play targets at 20 yards that I was point shooting because you couldn't see anything. And so it happens that way, luck of the draw. I wish I would have started on, squad 1 or, 2 somewhere in there, because there was definitely an advantage to being that early, so you didn't have to deal with the sun, because the last 4 bays. So if you started on 1, you went to the perpendicular bays down below where they were laid out the correct way, so there was a little bit of discussion about, canopies and movement. And because I've seen at other ORSA local matches, they have canopies when they shoot their steel challenge match. They actually have the canopies downrange or uprange, however you want to say it, that they'll be out in front of the competitor probably 10 feet because of that sun issue. But for whatever reason, people were told that the canopies couldn't move during the match. And it is what it is. I don't take that as a huge negative, although if the match is going to be at that range next year, that definitely needs to be addressed.
You know what? I think that's a fair assessment and a very just simple, factual way to put it. There's, as a match director, I love to hear great match, can't wait to come back next year. But I also want to hear what people didn't like about the match. So if there's a chance I can change it, I can.
Right.
I mean, you've shot at the WAC. You've been to every West Florida Steel Challenge Championship match, and we've got an interesting range.
Oh yeah.
I can't change the fact that you're shooting in covered bays. That's not going to happen. And we are shooting during the day, so while we'll turn the overhead lights on, they really don't make much of a difference. The bays are as well lit as they could possibly be, but the concept of how sound is going to ring and the fact that you're shooting in very dark bermed backed bays makes the plate looks a little different. I can't change that, but there have been times where people have made comments about, gee, if you'd have just done this, or if you could try to do this. Those are the kind of things that you want to hear. So I think this is very constructive criticism and positive way of putting it. If John or anyone from the Norseman are listening to this and can get it back to him to say, hey, next year you might want to consider setting something up to take into consideration the sun. So I think that's a great way of putting it.
In my understanding is it wasn't a John decision to be made. It was a Rimfire Challenge Shooting Association decision that was made. Well, that's true or not, that's just, what was relayed to me. But, one of the best things about Rimfire Challenge is there was a lot of youth shooters there, and we had an absolute riot. We probably had more fun than what we should have. I mean, it was a great time. Unfortunately, there was one DQ at the match, and it's different from other disciplines. I mean, that person was on my squad, and we were it was the last stage, last shooter of day 1. They had done exceptionally well, a younger shooter, and it pained everybody. It was, let's just say, a minor infraction. It wasn't an AD or, sending one over the berm. But, I think it was a learning lesson. But, it almost brought John and the RO to tears to have to, DQ this shooter. And, you don't see that in every sport. So, overall it was good. They had water on the bays, which was positive. The food was inclusive in your match entry, which I'm always a huge fan of. the food was pretty good. They had kind of like a homemade pizza kind of thing going. They had stone ovens kind of rolling, so it was good pizza. Dead brats and all that kind of stuff the next day. In terms of opportunities, because again, there's a lot of people that shot that match that will be back to that match, and I think based on the skepticism of a lot of people of Rimfire Challenge and what happened in 2018 and so on and so forth, I think the word will get out and there'll be a lot more shooters at the next match if it's at Orsa.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of other opportunities, to be overly critical, I think that, the award ceremony, I probably took, again, Jeff, it wouldn't surprise you, but we were the last squad coming in on day number 2. And I think it took probably an hour and a half to almost 2 hours to start the award ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of that's because they wanted to break down all the stages so everybody left at the same time. And, my preference as somebody that travels from out of town, let's ask if the group wants to waive arbitration and, let's move down the road.
Yeah.
But so I think that's an opportunity. I think another opportunity, and it's very, very small. Typically awards are done from the bottom up in most cases. So, let's talk about the open division and let's get special categories and awards, so on and so forth done. They started right at the top with, Grant, and then Colby and Nate Gibson. Those guys need to be recognized because they did an exceptional job. So, I may not have done it that way, but, not a huge deal. The awards were really nice. I think the prize table overall I think it was interesting. Overall, I would consider it good. And the good part is that, the most expensive thing on there was probably, $1,100 or $1,200 or so on and so forth. Yeah. So that was positive, but I think the overall prizes went deeper. If you landed in the top 50, you probably got something worth $300 to $500, somewhere in there.
Okay.
So I thought that was pretty cool and pretty interesting. The other part that we don't typically see in Steel Challenge, and I'm not sure exactly how I feel about it, but I thought in the past, and I'd have to look at the rule book, but again, I just haven't been familiar with it as they've changed it over the last couple of years, that it is an order of finish prize table, which, there's a lot of discussion about that from time to time. Because I think every other match with Rimfire Challenge outside the world is random. But they also went through, so let's say if you were Joe Blow shooter and you took first place in limited and first place in open, you got to walk the prize table twice as the first two to walk the prize table. So
yeah, that's
that
definitely not what the Steel Challenge does. It's your highest finish in that match. Yeah,
correct. So that was a little bit surprising, but again, I would have to look at the rule book. Maybe it was executed 100% per the rule book, but thank you to all the sponsors that donated to the prize table. JP and Tandem Cross is who I walked away with, so I appreciate what they do for the sport. There was Range Tactical Gear was there. Volquartz and, Scott was there in person, donated prize table, of course. Larry Joe Steely Jr. and Brian Hunter's HD Gold. A lot of people that we're friends and family with, Billy Striplin, just the regular suspects. Donated in a big way to the prize table. I think they said it was about $20,000 or so, which, again, there wasn't like a bunch
of one little digital there, Steve. Hold on.
$4,000.
Wait, now you're back. You went
$3, $4, $5, $6, $700 prizes. So, yep.
Yeah, you went you went a little digital there. So
I'm here.
Okay, good. We haven't lost you. Well,
sorry about that. I'm driving by the planes.
Not a problem. So, actually, I again, not being critical, just raising a point. As I was following it and I was on Facebook, a very good shooter. And you know what? I'll even say him by name because I don't think he's going to mind. It's, people that saw the post know I said this and know my response and his response. And it was all very positive because I have a lot of respect for the shooter. And that was Lance Bratcher had posted he got third. And I went, oh, that's great. And so I went to the match and I noticed that it was showing he was fourth.
Yeah.
So I sent him a message and I just said, hey, man, it's showing you went fourth. Is there a mistake? Well, again, as per probably the rule book, I don't know the rules, they awarded the topmost shooter, which in general is going to be the rimfire rifle open shooter. Although Grant, who won open, has actually in matches shot his iron sight faster than he shot in his open at times. But he was the grand champion, and therefore they did not award him what was considered first place. Also in the open division, first place actually went to the second place finisher.
Yeah, and that is that has always been that way since I've been starting Rimfire Challenge. I remember back in 2016, I think it was 2016, that maybe it was 17. They all kind of blend together, of course, the time. Colby Pavlok won high overall, and I think Trenton, came in second place in open, but yet was awarded first place in open. And that was like, okay, somebody walk me through that again real fast.
Yeah.
And per the rules, that's how it that's how they do it. And the other interesting part, and again, I'm talking a little bit about things that I'm not as knowledgeable about, but the same thing happens with like the special categories. You actually have to select which special category you're competing in. So Carly Chadwick, I think, shot one of the fastest times of the match for all the ladies, and I think she won high youth or high something junior, something like that. And Jenna Larson swept the ladies division. She came in first place in open and first place in ladies limited. So congratulations to her. She's now a world champion, which is, how cool is that, Jeff?
Hey, listen,
that's awesome.
It's the special categories. And of course, I love to walk around saying I'm a fast old guy. The special categories really keep people involved. Where the ladies, and it's funny because this is really a terrible statement to make because they're getting so fast. It's not really an advantage or a disadvantage to be shooting in the ladies category. In fact, when you look over the past couple of years, you've got the world champion in Steel Challenge, Mackenzie Bragg, very much a lady. You've got shooters like the Cunningham girls. And then you go way back as far as someone like Jessie in the Centerfire. She used to shoot a lot of single stack and definitely still shoots open in Steel Challenge, and have owned categories for that category for years. But for the juniors, the preteens, me and the senior, and many of the other seniors that are out there, Carl Sutherland and the super senior, it gives us a chance to feel like we are a little more competitive, just like the classes do. For the B shooter that goes to the world championships is just as much a rush for them to end up in the top 3 as it is for the grandmaster who might win it all. And so, I think the categories and the classes, I know Rimfire Challenge doesn't have classes. And part of that has to do with the fact that how would you manage that? Being that, it would probably have to be on some sort of match basis. And as you pointed out, it's not as prevalent as say Steel Challenge, and we're not going to go down that road. But the point is they do have the categories. And so you can still feel competitive in that realm.
Sure, sure.
Well, that's really cool. It sounds like it was a great match, and thanks for that recap. So there is something else I would like to talk to you about, and I don't know if you've heard of them. They're on Facebook. They seem to be doing some pretty cool stuff. I'm pretty sure the name of the company is Creekside Custom. Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah, we've met.
How are things going with the laser engraving, Steve?
Yeah, the Cerakote laser engraving and the FFL stuff. It's been, I would say it's been as busy as I would like it to be right now. It's, I try to post some content out there so people can see some of the cool stuff that's going on. But there's definitely more than a couple projects that I can't post because of privacy.
All right.
Well, also, Jeff, there's been one or two inappropriate things that I've had to engrave. So, but it's been really good. But
I think one of it's not necessarily inappropriate, but definitely tongue-in-cheek things that I remember. It's one of the first things you did was the dumpster fire coin.
Oh yeah,
and based on what how you expressed your rimfire match, you may need to make one of those coins up for yourself.
I know. I think I'll talk about this, but I won't post pictures of it. But I recently did a Let's Go Brandon coin.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah, no, I've just by word of mouth, I've sold quite a few of those, and I cannot tell you what's on the back because there's junior shooters that listen to this show.
Yes. Thank you. We appreciate that. We are still trying to be a family-friendly show. Well, that's cool. So you're doing the engraving, and for those that attended, this, but for those that didn't, Steve actually produced all of the awards for the last West Florida Steel Challenge Championships, and also did the challenge coins that we handed out at the last Doc Welt match, which is a level 2 USPSA match we also hold at the WAC. So we definitely know the quality and appreciate. In fact, I think in the back of my van, I've got about 7 awards that you won at the last West Florida match that I still need to get to you. I haven't seen you since the match. So no, those are coming when I see you. Okay.
Appreciate it. It's some of the cool stuff. I've done a ton of knives lately, and a lot of people really enjoy those. And it's just the custom side of things. There's a lot of money to be made in mass production stuff if I'm doing 100 of these or 100 of those. But there's something about I did a chassis last night for somebody that's got a bell. It's a Weiland chassis. It's got our flash gold color on it, and it's got a battle worn flag on the front of it with his initials and then his name on the buttstock. And to be able to share in progress videos and share it when it gets done, man, I love it. I just love the reactions from people. And our friend Nick Brand, he ran the Mississippi State Steel Challenge Championship. Unfortunately, it was the same weekend as the Rimfire World match, but I did the awards there. So they were all custom plates with that we had anodized, and I did laser engraving on, and they came out exceptionally well. So yeah, it's I've been super busy. I've been busy enough that I just purchased my second fiber laser, so that's coming. So there's a lot of cool things going on. It's again, it's been pretty much as busy as I want it to be right now, and there's some other cool things going on right now, so that's cool. But the other good part that a lot of listeners, it's money, right, to build up inventory, but became a Volquartsen dealer here a couple weeks ago. And so if you're interested in a Volquartsen firearm, or parts or what have you, reach out to me and I'll give you, the best price. And it's less than the MSRP that Volquartsen publishes. The Mamba X's I've been getting in a week. The Scorpions, I think they're probably 6-7 weeks out if you go through me. So if you're interested in any of that, I'll give you my best price, which is probably better than you'll find it at most places. So it's one of those kind of things, more of a service than, to the community and availability than just, making money out of it. Make a little bit on the transaction, but it's more about servicing the community. And then, of course, I've set up a dealership or what have you with Magnum Research. So I've got, I think, 5 Magnum Research switch bolts in stock right now. So if you need one of those, let me know, and we'll get you all set up.
Fantastic, Stephen. What is the best way or the different ways for people to contact you, should they be interested in getting a gun or parts or engraving or Cerakoting or training or, all of the 17,000 things that you do that's not part of your real job, which you are probably close to pulling into the parking lot right now?
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah, I'm doing a training session this upcoming weekend from somebody out of state. So I look forward to that. But, from the laser engraving, Cerakoting, that type of thing, reach out to me at creeksidecustomlasering@gmail.com or reach out to the Creekside Custom Instagram or Facebook page. Then my shooting page is Foster Shooting at Instagram or Steve Foster Shooting at gmail.com. Both ways, either through email or out on social media. No real preference. Whatever easier for people to reach out, and I'll try to be pretty attentive and get back to you pretty darn quick. So
excellent. Well, I'm one of probably for me the funniest moments on this podcast came when we were talking about the fact that you had engraved my Weiland chassis.
Yep.
And when you were like, hey, did you get that little violin? And I'm like, yeah. And then, it turned out to be, dirt from Steve Foster's home range, which that vial is still in my van and goes with me everywhere I go. and I, it's kind of like, the Notre Dame guys, when they slap the sign, I do the same thing. I touch the dirt before every match.
I have seen an increase in your shooting performance since you got that vial of dirt.
Hey, whatever it takes.
That was attributed to. Yeah.
It's absolutely it. It has nothing to do with 3 times a week at the range, working on every stage.
It's overrated.
It's all about the dirt.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that was also cool to see this, a couple of weeks ago. Paul Larson, the guy that filled up the vial of dirt,
right?
He took home some hardware with his daughter, so that was really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to Paul and to you. I mean, to me, that's what the community is about. I enjoy people, but if those that don't know me, I like to laugh. I like to have fun. I'm serious when it needs to be serious. But in fact, if you get a chance on the Facebook page, and I posted it to the Steel Target Paint page, is Jimmy Soldo's recap of Area 6. And if you've never met me, watch that video. He did an interview, and watch it to the end, and you will get my personality. And you will just leave it at that. So, well, Steve, let's end this with a little talk about some of the major matches that are coming up here in the next couple of months. Right off the bat.
Two more, right? There's 2 more for the year, right?
2 more for the year. The first one is the Panhandle All 8 Steel Challenge Championships, which is going to be up in Holt, Florida. Here, I believe the 3rd weekend in November. Unfortunately, that is my match weekend at the WAC, so I will not be able to attend that match. And then first weekend in December, we have the Florida State Steel Challenge Championships. Lots of openings there. That's going to be over at the Volusia County Gun and Hunt Club. And for those that have never shot there, that range is really stepped up the game when it comes to Steel Challenge. They've got dedicated bays. They've got covered, permanent covered shoot houses on all the bays. And they're constantly improving it to make it the best experience for every shooter possible. But let's talk a little bit too about what's coming up in 2022. I'm hoping that all these matches that had to stop due to everything we've been going through with regard to COVID and primer crisis and ammo crisis and whatever other crises we've had. I'm hoping to see all those matches that used to be running and you'd see people posting their scores. I'm hoping they all get to start back up. But we've got some majors coming up in 2022 that I'm aware of. And 3 of them pretty much back to back, which I think is pretty cool for getting warmed up. First one that I know of is the match up in Georgia, and that's run by our good friend Jamie. And what do you remember the actual name of that match? It's
It was
Southeastern. Is it Georgia Southeastern? Something like that.
I think it was called the South Georgia Steel Challenge Championship. And Jamie and his crew did an amazing job. I mean, they pulled together a match in a very, very short period of time. And Jamie had a lot of help from a lot of folks. And man, they did an exceptional job. So look forward to kicking off the season with that match. That's the first weekend in April.
Actually,
March.
I just pulled it up on Practice Score, and it is the South Georgia Steel Challenge Championships. It is actually going to be the last weekend in April. So it's March. Last weekend in March.
Yeah.
Last weekend in March, March 25th through the 27th. Okay. They shoot all 8 stages, and I always used to say that one of the big advantages that the Wyoming club have is that we're right in the middle of town, and within 5 minutes of the range you've got any kind of food, you've got lodging, we're 20 minutes from an airport, all that kind of stuff. This range is an outdoor range and has all those amenities as well. I think I stayed in a Holiday Inn Express that was no more than 10 minutes away when I went to the match last year. And in fact, it was crazy. I had some tire trouble, and wouldn't you know, right next to the hotel, which again, 10 minutes away from the range, is a Walmart tire center. So I was able to get that fixed pretty easy. And so, yeah, it's a great match. And I hope it's just as successful in 2022, if not bigger, than it was in 2021. Now, following that up, the third weekend in April, which would be, and I'm getting the exact date here, this would be the weekend of April 16th, is going to be the West Florida Steel Challenge Championships. We have moved the match to April. We've listened to the people, again, listen to those comments, and we're getting it out of the July timeframe and moving it to April. So hopefully people will be able a little more amenable for the weather in April to come down and shoot in Florida. But I'm looking forward to breaking more records for that match. And then finally, the last weekend in April, first weekend in May, is the World Speed Shooting Championships. And again, That's going to be at the CMP and in beautiful Talladega, Alabama. And so you've got 2 matches for good warm up, and then the World Championships right there within about a month of each other.
Jeff, do you want to? I don't have it because I'm not in front of my computer. What's the Mad Race sign up for World Speed Shoot? Is it December 1st?
I believe that is the case, but I am going to WSSC. let's not find that. World Speed Shooting Championships presented by PSA. The match opens December 4th at 8 p.m. So that is the first Saturday in December at 8 p.m. Okay.
All right, get your Prozac now. Get ready
Absolutely.
to
That is
sign up.
yeah.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy sign up for that match.
Get your mouse clicking finger ready to move between the fields and be ready to type in your credit card number for everyone. It's it's funny. I just got a text from Zach Jones yesterday. It turns out, based on my performance, I actually qualified to be on the super squad for Rimfire Pistol Open.
Sweet.
And I actually turned it down because I want to focus on my shooting, and knowing me, I'd be watching guys like Casey Eusebio and all the other top shooters, thinking I was competing against them, and I'm not. So
Sure.
plus I don't know if I'll be up there that day. I've got the new job. I've got to figure out what days I can get off, and I maybe end up shooting Thursday, Friday, and then not there for the weekend. Although, like everyone else, I would like to be there Sunday night for awards.
Right.
They do the awards up really well. I'm expecting the same type of support the organization has always provided to this match. I will add, for those that are interested, which I hope is a lot of people, at the last two nationals, which was the Optics / PCC nationals, and then they had the limited. They called it Race Gun, which was limited / open. They had the general membership meeting, and it is my understanding that they are going to hold one at the World Speed Shooting Championships. And
Interesting.
if anyone has ever had a comment, concern, question, or what's going on type of thing, here's your chance to get in front of the board and the president. And it may be the president that we have now, who is appointed, or by that time it may be the president-elect, and voice your opinion, whether that's in support or a question of what's going on. This is your opportunity. The board is our board, and it's your opportunity to actually get a face-to-face with them. So I would recommend that the Steel Challenge shooter show your involvement and show up at that meeting, because I think it's an opportunity that we've never been provided. And let them see. I believe that the board and the organization does support the Steel Challenge. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. I think that most things are running very smoothly. I've got a couple of opinions myself, and I'll be at that meeting and may raise them at that meeting. So we'll, but this is the opportunity you have as a member.
Awesome.
So,
all right, Jeff. Well, it was great talking with you today.
Same here, Steve. Have a great day at work. And are you doing any shooting this weekend?
Doing a little training Saturday afternoon, and then I've got somebody coming out of town on Sunday. So look forward to that.
Fantastic. All right, everybody. Hey, Steve, you know how we end every podcast. Give them that code at rangestore.net.
ST Podcast 10. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.